With functions, we can store pieces of code and reuse them with different values. Let's just start by making one. Open main.lua and delete everything inside. First, we need to write a function. Then we give it a name. I'm going to name it addition. A function is actually also a variable, so the same rules apply when naming your function. No keywords and no number at the start. Then we add parentheses. Inside we put what we call parameters. I'm going to add the parameters a and b. We separate parameters with a comma. These are temporary variables that will only be available inside the function. Now we need to close the function with an AND. Inside our function I'm going to put return a plus b. We just created a function. We can use the function like this. We type the name of the function and add parentheses. Inside the parentheses we have to give values to the parameters. One for a and one for b. I'm going to give the values 9 and 5. When we use a function, we say that we call the function. This is a function call. The values we give the function, in this case 9 and 5, are what we call arguments. The function will return a value and we can store this value inside a variable. So let's put result equals in front of the function call. And let's print the value of result. Can you guess what the value of result will be? My console outputs 14. Let's get back to our code and see what exactly happened. We call the function and give it the values 9 and 5. Our function receives the call, together with our arguments, sums them up. The return keyword allows us to return a value. In this function, the value we return is a plus b, or 9 plus 5, which is 14. Like I said before, the parameters can only be used inside the function. If we do print ab, you will see that it says nil nil. Nil simply means no value. A and b have no value, because we didn't store anything inside them. The function's parameters do not affect the variables outside of the function. Let's put a equals 20 on the top of the script, and look again. Now it says 20 nil. The a of our function is not related to the a outside of our function. This is a matter of global and local variables and scope, something I will explain in a future video. Let's create another function. I'm going to name this one introduction and add the parameters name, age and country. Instead of returning a value, I will put a print inside the function. Have you noticed how print is also a function that we call? It's a built-in function. Inside of print I'm going to write, hi, my name is ... name ... I am ... age ... years old and I live in ... country ... Now I will call the function and add some arguments. Daniel, 21 and the Netherlands. Actually, let's call this function twice. Just make up some arguments. Let's see the result. This is a good example of why functions are so useful. We can repeat our introduction with different values without typing the whole sentence all over again. Though you might still doubt the significance of functions, I hope you now understand how they work. Variables and functions are two very important fundamentals of programming. Now that you understand how they both work, we can start creating something visually. But first, we need to get a good text editor. I will explain how to install Sublime Text in the next video. Now you might be wondering, what happens when a function calls itself? The answer is, it will crash your computer.